All right. Good evening, everybody. We're going to get started in about 3 minutes. Do me a favor while we are waiting. Would you please type into the chat section name, and if you happen to know your Michigan MHSAA ID number, punch that in too, just for a quick attendance roll. And we will get started in just a couple minutes.
Um,
All right.
Where do I type in that, Shane?
All right, if you are on a desktop at
I'm on
the,
an iPad.
oh, you're on an iPad? Ooh, that one I'm not sure. There's usually up at the top, you might be able to kind of hover, or wherever it looks like there
Chat,
are
okay.
options. There should be a little maybe chat box that you can pull up as an option. But if you can't find it, Alon, I see you here. You'll be good. All right, we're going to get started here in just a quick minute. For those who just logged on, please do type in your name and official's ID if you happen to know it. If you should have been notified, but this meeting is being recorded for those who were unable to attend or working a game or working a real job or had family commitments, etc. I know I was just running for my kid's middle school basketball game to get over here, so. Right. Right, good to see everybody logging on. All right, just giving it one quick last look. If it feels like I'm kind of looking off to the side, it's because I'm looking to see if anybody's in the waiting room. I have a choice for Zoom meetings. I either have to tell everybody a passcode to type in when they log in, or I can just admit everybody. And I figured it'd be just easier to, admit everybody, do it on my end. Okay, all right. Good evening, everybody. We'll go ahead and get started. This is the MDAO meeting. Go over the rules test for postseason consideration. The due date for the exam is January the 3rd, and that's along with everything else that you're responsible for if you're interested in working the postseason. That means entering in your schedule, making sure you're a member in a good standing with at least one local approved association in your sport, and all those kinds of things. At the end of the test review, I will stay online for anyone who is new and might want a bit of a tour on how to go about doing that on the MHSAA website. I'll go ahead and do that at the end after the test review meeting. A couple housekeeping things as a reminder. This is being recorded, and we'll share it with the rest of the membership who are unable to attend today. And as always, keep your arbiter blocks up to date as best you can. And that's kind of about it. If you did not get notification for this meeting, if you didn't get an email from a constant contact, Metro Detroit athletic officials, it means you're not on the basketball list. You can email me at shanebuys@hotmail.com later and just say, hey, Shane, I'm not getting the constant contact emails, and tell me what sports you officiate, and I'll log in. So with that, I say we go ahead and we get rolling. I want to say, as we're going through and the questions pop up, We're not keeping total scores. We're not keeping a leaderboard this year. We're doing the polls and the quizzes through Zoom, but we added rules reference numbers that when you're going through those. So if you want to write down those rules references as we are going through and talking about the exam, and then like look up the rules reference later, you can thank Jim Dorman for that. He spent his weekend doing that and looking that up for us. There's a reason he's a lawyer. He's good at that. And I would also like to introduce George Markley, who is here to help us out. George has officiated college basketball, high school basketball, for those of you who don't know him, and he's been doing it for quite some time. Does football, basketball. Do you do a spring sport, George?
No, those are the only two that I'm crazy enough to do.
That's right. I promised my wife the spring, so I got to take one season off. So with that, I will open up a couple of quick polls though first. These are just for fun. Have you had to remind a scorekeeper to stop counting fouls at 5 for the quarter and stop ticking it up? Kind of interested in how they're getting used to it, because I think the tables I've noticed for the games I've been to and have worked, they know at 5 it's 2 shots and it goes back to 0 at the quarter, but they keep wanting to keep counting past 5. And I try to tell them 5 on the scoreboard is the new 10. So you just stop at 5. All right, looks like I'm going to show the results. Okay, well, all right, about 40%, they've been very good. They've been perfect. That's good to hear. And about 10%, they're still just trying to figure it out. They'll get to it eventually. All right, next one. Running out of bounds violation. This is the new kind of change in the rule. Have you had to call, season's young, I know, but if you had to call an out of bounds violation for a player running out of bounds of their own volition, just kind of, this is one that doesn't come up all that often, and when it does, you just don't want to get caught off guard. But I'm just interested knowing the rule change, if you've been paying a little bit more attention to that kind of play and what your thoughts are. All right, and the poll, show the results. And that's kind of what I was anticipating. And I was wondering real quick, I don't want to linger too long, but for those of you who kind of almost had to think about it, like, ooh, is that running out of bounds in their own volition? If anybody wants to come off mute and kind of share, I was just wondering, like, was it that traditional running along the baseline, trying to come off a screen, or was it a different situation? And if no one feels like coming off mute, or they can't figure out how to, that's okay too. We'll move on.
Jane, I'll answer. I was one of that said almost. I mean, it was one of those old fashioned person cutting from the top of the key and around underneath the basket, ran out of bounds and came back in. And as the trail, I watched him go out of bounds and come back in, but as luck would have it, he didn't get the ball. So, but I had my eye out for it.
Yep, had to monitor it. All right, excellent. And last fun poll, everyone's favorite subject, improper uniform and apparel. How well are teams adhering to uniform and apparel restrictions and requirements? And again, I have a very small sample size so far this year for myself, but I think, I don't know, for some reason, I feel like they might be paying more attention this year so far. And also, I think it helps that you can now wear black as an undershirt, regardless of the predominant color of the jersey for the away team. I think that's helped a little bit. All right, looks like I'm in a few more people. Going to end the poll, share the results. Okay, so some improvement, kind of what I was thinking. Some improvement, but it's going to be the bane of our existence probably for some time. All right. and let us go ahead and get started. Now, if I read some of these for all of you, it's because on the recording, they won't be able to see the results. So I might be, you might say, why is Shane, talking so much? We can read. It's because of that. So we'll go ahead and get started. Question number 1. In which of these situations may A5 be ruled for a 3-second violation while A5 is standing in the free throw lane in his or her front court? A, during the throw-in by A1, B, when A1 has possession of the ball in Team A's front court while the ball is loose following A1's interrupted dribble. C, when A1 has possession of the ball in Team A's backcourt, or D, none of the above. All right. And again, we're not keeping score. There's no leaderboard here. The more who engage, it will help George and myself out. For example, if 30 people answer it and 30 people get it right, we're not going to spend a lot of time on it. So you got about 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. Okay, that's a good count. And the poll share the results. And B is the correct answer. It looks like George, we might want to have a conversation on this one. So it's basically the 3-second one violation. And is there much to say on this one, George, besides kind of just got to know when the 3-second count is paused and look up those rule references?
Yeah, I mean, and I'm glad Jim added the rule references because they'll be a good place for you to look if you didn't get it correct. But the key things to remember when we're talking about 3 seconds is remembering that offensive players have to be in the front court and there's got to be team control, right? And the team has to be in possession of the ball. A loose ball or an interrupted dribble does not relinquish team control. Okay, so if A1 has an interrupted dribble, they're technically still in control of the ball. And if you got a guy parked in the lane, you can technically have a 3-second count when the ball is in the front court. So B is the correct answer. Can't have it on a throw-in. We got a 5-second count on a throw-in, right? So somebody might be positioning in the lane. The ball doesn't become live until it's released from the thrower-in. Or the ball's live when it's at the disposal of the thrower-in, but it doesn't come into play. We got a 5-second count. And backcourt, the offensive player can park himself in the lane all day if he'd like until the ball is over in the front court. So B is
it's about gaining an advantage, an unfair advantage. That's the thought process behind it. So for those of you watching the recording, rule 9-7-1 and 4-12-2-C. Okay, stop sharing that. We're going to go to question number 2. When does a team first shoot bonus free throws? Please, everybody get 100% on this one. We've said it enough. And watch, there's going to be one smart aleck. There's going to be one smart aleck that's going to pick a nonsensical answer. All right, I'll end it there before I do get that one person to select the wrong answer. George, I don't think we need to spend too much time on this one for those at home. And I forgot to type it in here, but Rule 10, penalty summary, number 2. Jim was talking to me and he mentioned that this test, you want to really look at the definitions chapter of the book and that penalty summary in Rule 10. There was a lot of the answers kind of came from those. All right, that was number 2. Answer was A. The answer was A for number 2. All right, luncheon question number 3. A1 with both feet in the air catches a pass ball, lands on 1 foot, jumps into the air again, and finally lands on both feet at the same time simultaneously. Which of the following is A1 allowed to do? Lift either foot off the floor while maintaining possession of the ball and not returning that foot to the floor. B, lift either foot off the floor and begin a dribble. C, this is a traveling violation. Or D, none of the above. And while I'm waiting for results to come in, rules references that will, once you read these rule references, you'll be like, oh yeah, easy answer. 4-44-2A and 4-44-4. This is number 3. All right, looks like we're at 21. I'll end the poll there and share the results. Okay. The answer, this is kind of what I was thinking we might get. We might get a mix of results here. And really, George, I'll turn it over to you, but I mean, really, it just might be something as simple as kind of, you know, maybe even reading those. I got them up, but I'll let you kind of talk about this one a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, it took me a few minutes on this one because initially I answered D, none of the above, but then as I dug into it a little bit more and tried to play it through my head, because I mean, the game's going so fast, right? And in some instances, it's really hard for us to put into our memory bank what exactly just happened. Did this guy jump off of a foot? Did he come down on both feet? What can he do next? It just came off of a pass. And this type of thing does happen in games, right? And it's how we officiate it. And in some cases, I might just say, hey, you know what? We're playing on. But technically, it's a rule item. So lands on both feet, he can lift one of the other feet up and not return the feet to the floor. Now, if he returns a foot to the floor after he lifts one up, we have a traveling violation. Okay. Now, some of you that answered B about lifting either foot off the floor and beginning a dribble, he has to begin the dribble with both feet on the floor first before lifting a foot. Otherwise, it's a traveling violation. The act itself is not a traveling violation, even though it looks goofy. You know, let's make sure that we understand the rule of traveling. You know, just because he comes off of 1 foot and takes a jump stop doesn't constitute a travel. So like I said, D, none of the above is what I initially went with, but after looking up the rule reference, the answer is A.
Yeah, because when he catches that ball in the air, lands on 1 foot, that foot's the pivot foot. He jumps off of his pivot foot, lands both feet on the floor at the same time. Right now, there's not another pivot foot. And as long as he picks up 1 foot and releases the ball on a shot or a pass without bringing that back down, everything's going to be okay. So the answer for that one, number 3, was A. All right, number 4. A1 is dribbling the ball in the front court outside the 3-point arc in front of her team's bench while she is fouled by B2. It is Team B's 4th team foul of the quarter. How is play resumed? You will want to look at Rule 7-5-3A, diagram number 5. While we keep the results coming in, just a few more. Answer is it either A1 is awarded 2 bonus free throws, B, Team A is awarded a designated spot throw-in along the sideline nearest to where the foul occurred, C, Team A is awarded a front court designated spot throw-in at the 28-foot mark on the table side of the floor, Team A, or D, Team A is awarded a designated spot throw-in along the end line 3 feet outside the free throw lane. Looks like we got a good number of results in. I'm going to share the results. And The correct answer is C. Team A is awarded a front court designated spot throw in, 28-foot mark on the table side of the floor. I mean, I'm glad to see George, kind of everybody got this one more or less. That's kind of the new rule, and keep getting used to that one in the front court. We're moving on to question number 5. After A1 releases the try on a free throw, but before the ball touches the ring or the flange, B2, I like to say flange, that's a fun word. B2, who is in a marked lane space, enters the lane, then crosses the free throw line and enters into the semicircle. But B2 does not make contact with A1, who is the free throw shooter. What, by rule, is the result? Specifically, you want to look at rules reference 9-1-3H. We have A, no penalty play on, B, violation on B2, C, technical foul on B2, or D, personal foul on B2. And again, by rule. And I'm emphasizing that very specifically, and George and I can discuss that. All right, looks like we got here about 25, 30 results. Looks good. I'll end the poll. I'll share the results. And again, it looks like most of us got this one right. And we know that when that action occurs, it's a violation on B2. And I guess, George, what I was emphasizing is by rule, there are times you don't have to necessarily make it your best call. And
Right.
This is one where you really want to think advantage, disadvantage.
Yeah, I mean, again, when I read this question, I'm like, boy, that guy the shooting the free throw must have had a lot of arc in that free throw, right? I mean, for all of that to occur, I mean, even in that space nearest the shooter. But yeah, let's not make this our best call. I think I would call a violation after I warned the player, like, hey, 34, don't do that again. You went in a little early, you can't cross the line. And I may even let the coach know that 34 went in, let him take care of the business, right?
Yep.
But probably here we're going to play on with just a mention to the player.
And then use some good preventive officiating communication. All right. The answer to that was number 5, letter B. All right, we're on to 6, moving right along here. A1's legal throw-in is bouncing untouched in Team A's backcourt. An official improperly whistles a timeout for Team B. Oh no, is that timeout request granted? Specifically, there is a case play, 5.8.3. When you see 5-8-3, that's a rules reference. When you see 5.8.3, the number separated by a decimal, those are case play references. Are the answer A, Team B's timeout is granted, B, Team B's timeout is not granted, C, an inadvertent whistle must be ruled, D, play shall resume as if no whistle went off. All right. I see them coming in fast and furious. And I'm just going to end the poll right there. Let's see what we got here. Woo. We've got a mix. We have got a mix. The correct answer is A, Team B's timeout is granted. This is one of those, George, where, if there's a dead ball, even if it's an accident and a coach wants a timeout, he gets it, regardless of, who had possession of the ball at the time. The ball's dead now. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. I mean, we all make mistakes, right? I mean, somebody's yelling, we're caught up in the frenzy of the game, we blow our whistle. I mean, there's really no correctable error on this type of a situation, right?
Right.
The correctable errors are mostly in regards to free throws, right? So we blow our whistle because somebody's yelling a timeout, kind of shame on us, right? Now, what we do with the ball, after it's loose, we know that A1 had control of the ball on a throw in, right? So we may want to get the ball back to A in this case, but yeah, B is going to be awarded a timeout. We're going to put that in our memory bank to hopefully never do that again, because really when we award a timeout, it's got to be in team control, right? It's got to be in control of the team. And it has to be requested by the player that has control of the ball or the coach that on that team.
Yep. And this is where that team control concept, knowing when there is team control with regards to certain rules. And even though the ball was in possession of Team A's player and hadn't been touched in bounds yet, it's still in Team A's control technically. All right, moving on. The answer to that, again, for those watching at home, is the answer is A. Team B's timeout is granted.
I'm sorry, I have a question.
Yeah.
So after the timeout, who gets the ball?
Team A, the team who was in team control at the time of the incorrect whistle.
Okay.
Yeah. Good clarification. Thank you. Number 7. All are true to start a dribble except the ball may be pushed to the floor. The ball must be released before the dribbler lifts his or her pivot foot. Or C, the pivot foot may be lifted but not returned to the playing court before the ball is released to start the dribble. D, none of the above. And we are looking at specifically rules references 4-15-3 and 4-44-3C. All right. A, B, C, or D. All right. Looks like the answers are starting to slow. All right, going to end this one. Share the results. And I think most of us got this one. The answer is C. Any questions here? Anything? I think kind of get this one here. All right. Let's see here. Gonna stop sharing that. Number 8, moving right along here. All right. Number 8, all of the following are true with regard to the location of a ball in flight, except which? Rules reference 4-44-3. I'm not going to bother to read out all the answers because they're lengthy. If you're watching this as a recording, I recommend you have the actual test in front of you so you can follow along at home. That might be the best way to do it for the rest of the night. So all the following are true with regard to the location of the ball in flight, except which? Except which? So we're looking for the incorrect answer. Which one of these is not like the other? Which one is wrong? This is all about knowing your back court and front court status is what a lot of these have to do with. All right. Looks like we got, this one's a little slower. The answers are coming in a little slower on this one. I think maybe some people have to think about it, which is good. Means it's a good question to talk about. All right. I'm going to end the poll. I'm going to share the results. The incorrect response, or correct response if you're logging it in at home for the exam, the answer is D. A throw and pass from A1 that has crossed the boundary line is in bounds. That is incorrect. So George, you want to kind of go into this one a little bit here?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the one thing we have to remember is that when we're talking about a throw-in, right? We release the ball, right? There's really no status on the ball outside of just the ball still being out of bounds, even though the ball is live, right? It doesn't establish inbound status until it does what?
Anyone?
Legally touched in bounds.
Adam? Yep, you got it. So that's,
But
that's,
again, I mean, well, I want to stop real quick because we're talking about crossing the boundary lines, right? So the ball can hit the floor, right? So the
Mhm.
ball can hit the floor inbounds. And that's fine. We're not talking necessarily about team control. We're talking about the ball or the throw-in pass that has crossed the boundary line, right? So I think the ball has to hit the floor or hit somebody on the floor in order for it to be in place. So while the ball is in the air, just crossing the line itself does not establish an inbound, establish the ball inbounds.
and that has implications for if there's a foul by a team on inbounds. So, and which team and all that. All right. I don't know if y'all heard that, but I got two very angry cats with each other right now. So if the Christmas tree goes tipping over, you'll know what's going on. I'll put up a technical difficulty screen. But the answer for that one, for 8, was D. Now we're on to number 9. What edges of the end line and sidelines define the inbound and out of bounds areas of the boundary lines? A, inside, B, outside, C, the lines are plain ceiling to floor, D, none of the above. Specifically, rules reference 7-1-1. All right, they're coming in. I think we're good here. Gonna end that one and share it. Over 90% of you were getting this one right. The answer is correct, A. And this is really important to understand, George, is if somebody's like trying to inbound the ball, and they like throw it and they step forward, and maybe they were trying to pass it to somebody, but they didn't want to, and their momentum like took their foot forward. It's not a violation until what?
Yeah, until the foot crosses the inside part of the boundary line on the court. You know.
Right. So you'll have people screaming at you, a little 2-inch thick line, 3 thick inch line. As long as they're stepping on the line, but not on the court yet, they'll scream at you that that's a violation, but it's not. All right. So the answer was A, number 9. Number 10. When screening a stationary player within his or her field of vision, the screen may be set where? Rules reference 4-40-3. A, anywhere short of contact, B, within 2 steps of the opponent, C, within a step of the opponent, or D, within a step and a half of the opponent. So screening, stationary player, so there's no action, momentum, not too much time to take into consideration. The kid getting screened sees it coming. Where can they set up to screen? All right, I think we're good here. I'll end it. Share results. All right, so the correct answer is A, anywhere short of contact. And I think if anybody like selected B, C, or D, those aren't necessarily, wrong, but there's not any kind of restriction on it. You could set up a screen on in any one of those places. It's just that that's not the only place where they could set up a screen. That's basically the distinction.
The key
George,
word here too, Shane, is it within his or her visual field, right?
that's
So
the key.
person can see them, they can see them, they can be right up on them. They could be a half inch from that person to set the screen, right? So again, the key is within the visual field. It's outside the visual field, then we're talking about whether it's B, C, or D, but it's going to be A if it's within the visual field.
Okay, moving on. Question number 11 here. The difference between the penalty administration for an intentional personal foul and a direct technical foul includes which of the following? A, the player who must shoot free throws. B, the spot where the ball would be thrown in after the free throws. C, whether the foul counts toward the team's bonus. Or D, both A and B. Specific rules references are 10-6, the penalty diagram again, table, and 8-2-3, and 8.2 situation A, and 4-19-13. Lot of rules references. Okay, so let's see here. What kind of answers we get here? All right. I think I can end this one right now. I think we're doing just fine on this one. Share the results. The correct answer is D, which means both A and B were correct. So if you tally up the 14% that selected A and B and add that to the 79% who selected D, I think we're looking not too bad. But this is just one that when we don't call intentional fouls very often. We don't call technical fouls very often. You know, just get comfortable knowing those so that when that crazy situation does happen, you're not stressed about what to do next and how to get the game going again. George, any comments to share while I'm doing things?
Yeah, I mean, just knowing what player does what. I mean, technical fouls, we know that, anybody can be chosen on the floor to shoot a technical foul. An intentional foul is going to be the player that had the foul committed on shooting the free throw. Where the ball goes into play, on the floor, I think that was that last one there.
The other person on an intentional foul.
I'm sorry, it was team fouls. In both cases, intentional fouls and direct technical fouls, those would constitute a team foul in all cases. So that letter C
tallied on the board. The only other thing I want to add is if, for example, on an intentional foul, that kid comes down and twists his ankle and he just can't shoot those free throws or something along those lines, or bangs his elbow, his substitute could shoot the free throws as well. We don't want to put a kid in obvious pain who doesn't want to shoot the free throws. We don't want to force him to shoot the free throws. All right, moving on. Number 12. What is the result when a player makes incidental contact with the net while the ball is on the basket, and that contact with the net has no effect on whether the ball successfully enters the basket or not? Rules reference 4-6, case play 9.11.1. A, no penalty, play shall resume uninterrupted. B, basket interference. C, goaltending. Or D, technical foul. A, B, C, or D. Okay. And I'm looking at the results, George. We want to talk about this one briefly. The operative word for me is on the basket.
Yeah,
again, the correct answer is B.
Yeah, it's one of those, if you don't know the differences between basket interference and goaltending, or if you think they're both the same, they're different definitions for each. Brush up on your definitions on what basket interference is, and also goaltending. There's really only two items for goaltending. One of them involves swatting away a free throw. And the other one is when the ball is on its downward flight. That's just goaltending. Basket interference when we have basket interference, we're talking about touching the net, touching the rim while the ball is within the cylinder. So just make sure you're brushing up on your definitions there. It's not a technical foul. Incidental contact with the net, again, it's still contact with the net. And when the ball is within that cylinder and it causes it not to be in the cylinder, we've got basket interference.
So the scenario I want to bring to your attention is, You know how some players will shoot a shot, and sometimes that ball is rolling around on that rim, on the basket. It's on the basket. Even if somebody comes up and they smack the net, but it really doesn't hit the ball, that's basket interference. But in a scenario where that ball hits that ring and it goes straight up in the air 3-4 feet, and then somebody swats the net without touching the basket, that is not basket interference. That same situation where that ball bounces 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 feet up into the air, and somebody, hits the rim because the ball's in the cylinder, that's the basket interference. So for it to be basket interference, swatting the net has to be on the basket. For everything else, it can be basket interference with the ball just being in the cylinder. Those are the two, that's the important distinctions there. And so again, that was number 12, answer B. Stop sharing. We'll go to now question 13. And by the way, if anybody does have questions, feel free to, come off mute and ask them. Number 13, team control does not exist in which of the following? 4-12-2 and 4-12-3 are the rules references. Team control does not exist in which of the following? A, during an interrupted dribble. B, while the ball is inflated during a try. C, when a live ball is being passed among teammates. Or D, all of the above. And again, I just want to emphasize, as we're going through this rules exam, you'll see a lot of the rules references or for dash this, dash that, and that's because that is the definition section of the basketball rule book. All right. Looks like we're doing okay here, so I'll go ahead and just end this one. The correct answer for number 13 is B. Team control does not exist while the ball is in flight during a try. I think most of us know this one. George, when does this become, the most important? Like when there's like a whistle and a foul or something, right?
Yeah, I mean, it could be something, again, we have to know where the ball is at, the status of the ball when we're making a call, right? And what can happen, I mean, if we think about it, we think about the offensive player releasing the ball and maybe crashing into somebody before he comes back onto the floor. That's a player control foul, right? But in this instance, the ball is released, player comes back on the floor, but maybe we have an off-ball whistle where somebody creates the offensive team had created contact, like on an illegal screen or illegal contact on a defender. We have to know the status of the ball before we rule that it's a team control foul. So if the ball is in the air and that contact occurs after that foul, we don't have a team control foul any longer. We could be shooting free throws, right? So if it happens after the contact, or I'm sorry, after the ball is released, no more team control, and the offensive team commits a foul, and we're in the bonus, we could be shooting free throws. So team control ends as soon as there's a try made.
So
Try attempted.
if you are a partner and your partner is the one who calls the foul, be a good partner, know what's going on, that, oh, okay, it was a push in the back by the offense while there was no team control. We are in the bonus. This is the 6th, 7th, 8th foul of the quarter. Be a good partner and say, George, I got your shooter, number 13, green right here. You got pushed in the back. Go report your foul. And that way George knows, okay, good. I know what's going on. I can report the foul. So, all right. Number 14. Technical fouls include all but which of the following? Rules reference 4-19-5. Technical fouls include all but which of the following? A non-contact foul by players when the ball is live. B, a foul by a non-player. C, a contact foul when the ball is live. Or D, a contact foul when the ball is dead, except a foul committed by an airborne shooter. So we are looking for the incorrect response for the answer. So which one of these is not true? And you'll find the answer. All right. Looking good here. All right, we got 25 plus responses. All right, sharing the results. C is the correct answer. A contact foul while the ball is live cannot be a technical foul. Yep, this is just one where you want to review the definition of a technical foul, you know, in 4-19-5. Foul by a non-player, you know, coach, bench personnel, that can be a non-contact foul by players when the ball is live. Somebody MF somebody else on the court, that's a non-contact foul. Or D, a contact foul when the ball is dead, except a foul committed by an airborne shooter. So, you know, if somebody shoves somebody and it's a dead ball, technical foul, right?
Yeah, I think, Shane, where we probably get this one wrong the most is on D, right? Because play is dead, and then we have two players shove each other. Sometimes I've seen partners that go in and have assessed just regular common personal fouls in those situations. When we're applying the rule, we have to remember what is the status, and if the ball is dead and we have that contact and we're going to issue a foul, it becomes a dead ball contact technical foul.
Yep.
In that instance.
All right. No questions. That, again, the answer is C, and that's, you know, the correct thing, but the answer C, because we're looking for the not true one. All right, so now we're moving on to number 15. All right. Lengthy question, lengthy responses. The fourth quarter ends with the score tied 60-60. It's a barn burner. As the players for the two teams walk towards their respective benches, A1 curses at one of the officials because no foul was called on a last-second shot attempt. The officials assess a technical foul against A1. Specifically, you want to consider rules 5-6-2, the exception number 4. And again, if you are watching this on the recording, I'm not going to read through everything on the screen. The answers are lengthy, but this is again, this will not happen very often to you. And I hope for everyone's sake on here, nothing like this does happen to you. But when it does, this is one where the only way you're going to know the answer is by being here at this meeting, reading a rules book, case play, and just kind of locking it into your memory. All right, I'm going to end the poll. And I am so pleased to see that most of us got this one correct. The answer is D. The free throws awarded Team B are the start of the extra period. Following the 2 free throws, Team B will have a designated spot thrown at the division line opposite the table, and Team A will have an alternating possession. Once you figure out that the technical fouls go to the start of the extra period, George, I mean, basically it's the same thing as starting the game with the technical foul, right?
Yeah, and I think another thing that you have to keep in mind too is that as this technical has occurred after, I mean, it can happen after any period, and once it happens after the period ends, what ends up happening when this player in this instance that did the cursing, that player becomes bench personnel, right? And we know that if a technical foul is called on any bench personnel, what happens? Coach loses his box privileges, right? So this question didn't go into that, but I thought about that in this instance. The coach was able to stand the entire game. Now he's got to sit in overtime as a result of his player cursing.
Oh, and by the way, coach, you lose the privileges of the coaching box, but that is how it is supposed to be. All right, question number 16. Moving right along. A double personal foul is ruled in the front court near the sideline while A1's try for goals in flight. The try is successful. Team A has the possession arrow. Where is the resulting throw in and by which team? Rule 10, penalty summary 1.c and rule 6-7, exception A. Designated spot thrown for team A, designated spot thrown for team B, non-designated spot thrown along the end line by team A, or non-designated spot thrown along the end line by team B. I have a few more. Okay. All right. Ooh. Ooh. Oh my goodness. This is exciting for me. All right. Gonna end the poll here. Got a good number of responses. Let's have a quick conversation about this one. The correct answer is D. That after the double personal foul, the answer is D, a non-designated spot thrown along the end of the line by team B. So I got that one right? Okay.
Yeah.
George, talk to us about this one.
They threw us curveballs on this question, right? By throwing the team A has the possession arrow. So they were trying to trick us to think that we needed to have an alternating possession ruling on a double foul while the ball is in flight, right? I mean, again, we're talking about a double foul, a foul on a player on each team, right? So ball's in flight, ball goes in. Again, it's a made basket. We're going to assess the fouls on both teams, right? And we're going to put the ball back in play as if it's a made basket, with B having the run of the end line with being able to throw the ball in. It's a made basket once the ball is in flight, and we're just going to call the fouls that occurred during the play. There's no alternating possession, no jump ball in this instance. We're going to call it in the order that we see it.
What if the try was not successful?
Yeah, in this case, then we have an alternating possession to go to, right? Because there's no team control at the time, so there's no point of interruption. So the only place that we can go to is the arrow in this case, right? And then we're awarding the ball closest to the point of interruption. I think that's the way we would look at it.
Which would probably be at one of the two spaces on the end line.
Yeah, I mean, again, and it just depends on who's going to get possession of the ball. If it's A that's shooting it, then yeah, it's going to be in one of those spots.
Yeah. So so basically if the try was unsuccessful, answer A would be correct, but because the try was successful, answer D is the correct answer. All right, that was a good one. All right, number 17. Which is true if A1 commits an intentional foul against B1 during B1's successful try for goal? Rule 10, penalty summary number 4. B1 shall be awarded 1 free throw. B1 shall be awarded 2 free throws. Any team B player shall be awarded 1 free throw, or D, any team B player shall be awarded 2 free throws. All right, we are cooking. They're coming in. All right, I think we're going to be okay on this one here. Yeah, maybe. All right, I'm going to end it. Got about 30. Okay, the correct answer is B. B1 shall be awarded 2 free throws. Again, George, anything to say other than this is just one you got to know?
Intentional foul, right? An intentional foul on any try. I mean, even if he missed it, he's getting 2 shots, right? He makes the basket, they're getting 2 in the ball. You know, it's a high school rule. I mean, 3-point try, same thing. Intentional foul, he makes the 3, he gets 2 free throws. You know, so all intentional fouls, 2 free throws in the ball.
Yep.
Hey, it's Joe Corso. Yeah, just a reminder, it's not an and one, it's just the 2 free throws. Because I was in a game once and a partner wanted to do an and one, and I tried to quickly say, no, I think he just gets the 2 intentional.
Yeah.
Well, no, I mean, if it's a made basket, he gets the basket, right?
So
Yes, he gets the basket, but not an and one and 2 free throws.
it's an and 2. It's just an and 2 in that case. Yep. Yeah, so the partner wanted to give him the 1 plus 2 more. For a
Yes,
total of 3, and that would, you're right, that would be correct. It's just the 2 plus the made basket.
yes, thank you.
Yep. That's I haven't had that one posed to me, so that's good. I'm glad you brought that one up. All right. So again, that was number 17. The answer was B. All right, number 18. Scroll up, launch it. Team A has team control of the ball in its backcourt for 9 seconds. When A1 is granted a timeout, how many seconds does Team A have to advance the ball into its front court following the timeout? 9.8 case play situation C. So you're counting and the crowd's starting to get, they know it's getting close. Coaches are looking at you. Everybody's looking at you. Coach saves them by calling the timeout. What do we got here? And we have an A+, perfect score. You're right. It resets. The answer is A. After the timeout, they get 10 seconds. I'm not gonna waste anybody's time blathering on about that one. You guys got that one right. Stop sharing, and we'll launch number 19 then. 19. During the dead ball, immediately following A1's successful try with 34.5 seconds remaining in the game, the official notices water on the floor and blows the whistle to stop play. Got to think about player safety. Which of the following is true? Rules reference 5-8-2-B and 3-3-1-A. All right. So, which is true? A, only substitutes who had reported prior to the official's whistle may enter the game. B, only Team B substitutes are allowed to enter the game. C, all substitutes are allowed to enter the game. Or D, no substitutes are allowed to enter the game. All right. And we're looking good here again. All right, C is the correct answer. Again, it's kind of like granting a coach a timeout when the wrong team had the ball because you thought their team had the ball. Once that play is killed, either for water on the court or an inadvertent whistle or something like that, coach wants a timeout, regardless who's calling it, they can get it. All subs can come in. Coach is like, oh, good, I get a chance to grab a player, throw them in real quick. They can come in. So, all right. No questions here. We're cruising. We're on to question number 20. Which is true about action on and by the cutter? Rules reference 10-7 and 4-7-1 and 4-23. A, bump the cutters, quote unquote, is an accepted coaching term that is never a foul. B, bump the cutters is a coaching term that resulted in a technical foul. C, no player offensive or defensive can be bumped or displaced off his or her path. Or D, none of the above. Now, they didn't ask if it was when I was playing. Back, I was the one who, Shane, you just bump the cutters. You just get in everybody's way. Not anymore. I wouldn't be quite so valuable as a player in today's game. The correct answer is C. No player, offensive or defensive, can be bumped or displaced off of his or her path. Yeah, that's it. It's all about freedom of movement nowadays, isn't it, George?
Yeah, you'll hear coaches yell it. I still hear it to this day. I won't name names, but there's a guy that regularly does it. He's been coaching a long time. And all it does for me is just, well, thanks, coach, for having me now draw attention to your team to see if they're going to actually bump people and interrupt their freedom of movement, right? And I think probably if there's an area in our game that we all can work on is off-ball officiating and looking for opportunities, especially from the defensive players when they're trying to restrict the movement of offensive players. It can be on either team. It can be the defensive restricting offensive restricting defensive players. So key is work your primary. You see opportunities to call a foul because of that freedom of movement principle has been interrupted and it was illegal contact. Get the foul, right?
Yep.
Not legal.
And getting in the way of an offensive cutter is not the same as bumping them. So you kind of got to know what did that contact knock him off the line or something. So yeah, couldn't have said it better myself. Question number 21. To which team and where is the throw in that fouls a double technical foul that occurs while team A has control of the ball? Rule 10, penalty summary number 1, .c. A, team A at the division line. B, team B at the point of interruption nearest the spot of the double technical foul. C, team A at the point of interruption nearest the spot where the ball was located. Or D, to the team with the alternating possession arrow nearest the point of interruption at the spot of the double technical foul. So imagine a scenario where you got 2 off-ball players and they just start pointing at each other and calling each other pleasantries. Boom, technical foul you, boom, technical foul you. How do we get that ball put back in play? All right, the correct answer is at C. And, you know, I think George is all about, you know, most everybody knew that, yeah, team A is going to get the ball. Again, you report them both, but it's like where? And that can matter because certain placements on the court, imagine a scenario where the ball's all the way in the backcourt and the 2 guys who get the double technical are 80 feet away. So.
Yeah, you can create an advantage real quick or a disadvantage, right? So yeah, the key is just knowing where the ball is when the technical foul occurs, and we're putting in point of interruption where that is at.
Yep.
Where the ball was.
Point of interruption. Not point of where the foul was. All right. 22. A1 jumps for a try for goal and defender B2 knocks the ball out of A1's hands prior to A1 releasing the shot. A1 controls the loose ball while in the air, returns to the floor in possession of the ball, and begins a dribble. What is the result? Rules reference 4-12-1 and 4-25-2. Is it A, a jump ball, B, a traveling violation, C, double dribble violation, or D, legal play continues? Play on, jump ball, travel, double dribble. All right, we're looking good here. We're looking very good. All right, so I'll go ahead and end it. Most of us got this one. D, legal play, play continues. He lost possession of the ball. He can shoot it, dribble it, pass it. Yeah.
This one's a pretty obvious one, but I do see at least once a year an official that will call this a jump ball. And, you know, we'll have a conversation about it after the game. But the key is that the ball coming loose, right? It can come loose, you can come back down with it. We're playing on, right? I mean, it looked goofy, right? But the only time we're having a jump ball is he's going up for the try, he's pinned, and there's no displacement of the ball. He's coming back down to the floor with the ball. Now we might have a jump. Well, we have a jump ball here.
And that defender's hand's still on the ball, yeah. I think a key to prevent that whistle where you call it a jump ball when it clearly got knocked loose is have a slow whistle. Take a breath. You don't have to be in that much of a hurry, and then you might be able to process what you see. Question number 23. Which of these results is the loss of coaching box privileges for the head coach for the rest of the game? 10-6-1-A and 10-5, the penalty section. A technical foul charge to the head coach. B, a technical foul charge to the assistant coach. C, a technical foul charge to any other bench personnel. D, all of the above, or E, none of the above. In which situation does the head coach lose the coaching box privileges? And again, batting 1,000 tonight for this question. Nice job, everybody. That's one where, you know, sometimes you got to get a bench personnel or an assistant coach. This is a good line that I've used sometimes. You might have an assistant coach that's saying maybe talking a little too much. The head coach has been cool all night. Some good preventive officiating is, you know, hey Joe, your assistant coach there, if he doesn't be quiet, he's going to lose you the coaching box privileges. All right. And believe me, 99% of head coaches, they're going to turn around, George, aren't they? And they're going to
Most of the,
be quiet.
most of the time, yes, there are instances that they don't. And when you nail the assistant with a technical, my favorite is seeing the look on the coach's face. Then he's really talking to the assistant after that. But yeah, I mean, I think preventive officiating, letting the coach know that you're having a problem with the assistant usually nips that in the bud.
Good job, everyone. Question number 4. A player strikes the backboard with his or her hand. What is the result? 10-22 and 10-4-4-B and casebook play 10.4.4. Is this A, goaltending, a B, illegal play if attempting to block the shot, or a technical foul if the player intentionally and excessively strikes the backboard? Yeah, I gotta love that. Here it's cut off for me and I can't expand any further, so I gotta go look at the paper copy. Or C, basket interference, or D, both B and C. All right, I think we're doing pretty well here on this 1, 2. All right, we'll end it there. 2/3 of us got this one. This is that, and again, the higher up the ranks you go, you get some big fellas, George, don't you? And they can be making a legitimate attempt, and that backboard can be shaken around, but if we deem it, he was going for the block and he wasn't trying to draw attention to himself, it's just an athletic attempt at the ball, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, and I think the key here too is just understanding the definitions of goaltending and basket interference. And nowhere in any of those definitions does it talk about what happens when a defender slaps the backboard, right? So, and this is one of those places, it looks goofy, especially when people go up for layups, you got a defender that smacks the heck out of the backboard, and it's like, oh, that was excessive and I'm going to call a technical foul on it. This is probably one where we don't want this call also to be one of the best calls of our game.
Yeah.
When in doubt, or if it's close, it's probably a talk to and say, hey, 34, saw what you did there. Let's make an attempt to block the shot and not smack the heck out of it. Or if the ball's on the rim and somebody comes up after the shot and it's dancing on the rim and somebody slaps the backboard, that may be excessive. And the only thing we're coming up here is not counting the basket, but we're probably going to come up with a technical foul, maybe, depending on how, because again, it's after he made no legitimate attempt to block the ball. The ruling would be a technical foul in this case, or potentially could be a technical foul versus counting basket. So just brush up on your definitions, especially if you think it's goaltending or basket.
And as Rick Massa would say, that's why we get paid the big bucks, to know, was it a legitimate attempt at the shot or not? So that was number 24. Answer was B. Number 25, Team A's head coach is engaging in an inappropriate behavior by repeatedly attempting to influence the decisions of the officiating crew. That was the most diplomatic way of phrasing it. And objecting to the crew's decision by rising from the bench and using gestures. The coach's behavior has not risen to the level of requiring a technical foul. How should the officials address this situation? 10-5, the penalty section. And again, if you are watching the recording, I'm not going to go through all the answers here. But A, B, C, or D. You don't think it's a tech? Maybe a little too much, or maybe this coach is losing by 20 and, it's the early third quarter and, or middle of third quarter, and you don't want to kind of stick it to him or something, what could you do instead? All right. Most of us got this one. Stop the play. The answer is D. Stop the play. Have the scorer record a bench conduct warning in the scorebook and notify Team A's head coach that he or she has been warned. I'm gonna say this, that when this came as a rule about 3, 4, 5 years ago, George, for me, I use it not unregularly. It, has a way of kind of achieving the same thing as a technical foul, kind of diffusing situations without needing the repercussions of a technical foul.
Yeah, I mean, we had to put something in writing because not everybody was going, I mean, some people's triggers were a little bit, they were looking to get somebody, they kind of leaned into those technical fouls versus the warning. This is really just to try to, hey, if things start to chirp, now we have something official that we can lean on. Let's go the warning approach first. Let's not do the warning, an unofficial warning and an official warning, kind of spells it all out. I mean, if the coach crosses the line, we don't need to warn them. Right.
Correct.
I mean, if it's enough that we got give them a technical foul, then we would. But I think putting this in the book, I think to your point, Shane, really gives us an opportunity to actually do something to let the coach know that was enough. We got it in the book, and then it's not a surprise the next time it comes up.
Another tool in the toolbox. All right, coming down the home stretch here. Number 26, Team B comes out onto the court for warmups, and you notice that the name on the front of the jersey is shortened from West Grand Village High School to the Ville. What is the penalty associated with teams wearing the illegal lettering on the jersey? It's not even asking us if it's illegal. It's telling you it's illegal, but what's the penalty? Rule 3-4-4 and 10-6-4. Again, long answers. I'm not going to read them all. A, B, C, or D. And this is one that we do want to work on getting right, because there's differences between accessories. There's difference between illegal jerseys. Those are two different things. All right, this is number 26. I'm going to end the poll, share the results. Okay, plurality of us, 54% got this one right. The answer is B. Assess a direct technical foul to the head coach and start the game with 2 free throws and Team A's ball at the division line. And I'm going to say right now, this and question number 27 kind of come together. This question was really more of a, what's the penalty kind of a question. But George, if you want to kind of talk about, just real quick, jersey versus accessories, all that kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, usually we can spot this stuff before we really have to address it. And I know it's hard to do it, especially teams that are traveling. Gosh, I hope by now the coaches that have attended rule meetings know that if they've got jerseys like these, they better get it fixed so we don't have to take care of it. But again, at the end of the day, we've given the opportunity and we've informed the coach that he does not have legal jerseys well before they're getting ready to tip it off and he doesn't solve it. We only have one option, right? Direct technical foul to the head coach, start the game with 2 free throws. Coach loses his box, right? And that's it. I know it's not fun being the uniform police, but somehow or another they have to get the message.
Yep. And I think really making the penalty a direct technical foul of the head coach, I think has kind of helped kind of drive home that you got to take care of this. All right. Number 27, same kind of situation. Team B comes out onto the court for warmups, and you notice the game, West Granville High is abbreviated the Ville, same setup. This time, the question is, how should this be handled prior to the tip-off? Not asking what the penalty is, it's asking you how you should go about handling it. 3-4-4, excuse me, 3-4-4, yeah. A, B, C, D, or E. And again, same thing. I'm not going to read off all the options before people answer. I know there is a rules reference for this, but I like to say this is one if like you kind of have maybe some common sense, that kind of a thing. It can kind of help you out too here if you didn't specifically know this was the way to go about handling it. All right, we got 27 chiming in. Going to share the results. The correct answer is E, and E is both A and B. You want to speak to the head coach immediately and explain the rules and what the penalty will be if the jerseys are worn during the game. And B, allow the team the opportunity to change the jersey to a legal jersey prior to the start of the game. Maybe they're a home team and they got better, maybe the JV team, they can go grab the JV team jerseys or something that didn't get the update cool the Ville on it. You tell them this is illegal, give them a chance to fix it. That's it. Answers E. Most of us got that one, which is great. All right, number 28, final three here. A1 and A2 set a double screen near the end line. A3 intentionally of their own volition goes out of bounds outside the end line to have the defender detained by the double screen. A3 is the first player to receive a pass immediately after returning in bounds. 7-3-3 is the rules reference. Again, lengthy answers. Is it A, B, or C? Basically, is it a violation? Is it not a violation? And if it's a violation, where's the ball getting inbounded? That's basically what this is asking you. All right, boom, got lots of answers here, and most of us got this one. The answer is B. The official shall call a violation on A3 as soon as he touches the ball. The ball is awarded to team B at the designated spot nearest to where the violation occurred. And because it's now I'm going to be in the B's backcourt, George, does it have to be at one of those 4 spots?
No, does not.
That's right, because it's going to the other team, going the other direction. We are now in the backcourt. It doesn't have to go to the 1-4 designated spots because we're not setting up in B's front court. We're setting up in B's backcourt. So, all right, good job, everyone. Number 29. B1 fouls A1 in the act of shooting a 3-point try. While the ball is in the cylinder, A2 makes contact with the ball prior to the ball entering the basket. Which of the following is true? 4-6-2 and 9-11 penalty 2 are the rules references. And again, lengthy answers. Not going to read them out. A, B, C, or D. And I hope that based upon George's emphasis on knowing the definition between goaltending and basket interference, I hope most of us get this one, and it looks like we did, which is great. It's the answer is B. It's a basket interference violation. Those who answered A, the penalty would be the same. But as far as really knowing those definitions, it's important to know those definitions. So, because that has impact on other things, like if the net's touched or the rim is touched or that kind of thing. All right, last one, number 30. Congratulations, everyone. During warmups, the crew notices that 2 Team A players are wearing illegal colored headbands and one has the wrong colored undershirt. The officiating crew should shake their head and go, "Oh no." But what should we do when we see incorrect undergarments, undershirts, headbands, tights, nothing's matching? What do we want to do at the beginning of the game? Remember, this is not a jersey. We're not talking about illegal jerseys. We're talking about illegal accessories. All right, looks like we got most here, and most answered correctly. The answer is A. You address the uniform violation immediately. Neither of the Team B players in violation shall be permitted to participate until they come into compliance with the apparel requirement. That's it. That's it. All right. I'm glad to see it looks like most of us were getting on this one. We knew it pretty well. Again, we're at 8:17. That's about right. I want to leave about 15 minutes for those of us who wanted a tour of the MyMHSAA site and stuff. George, you got anything to send us out on? Or hold on real quick. Does anybody have any questions for the good of the group? What I'll say is I think some of the MIGs have been updated. I'm going to say double check your MIGs when you go in, and I'll show you where to do that if you want to stay on board. But an email should be coming out in the next few days to tell everybody to kind of look and update look at that if it's been updated. The due date for all those are 1/3. I just want to hammer that home. I don't want anybody to forget about that. It happens every year, unfortunately, though. It's one of those things where take care of it when you can take care of it. Any questions before I let George have the last word?
You know, guys, I mean, I've been taking these rules tests for a long time, and I can't remember the last time there have been so many uniform related questions in on the test. And, you know, they've made it a point of emphasis. I mean, this isn't the first year that they've made uniform stuff a point of emphasis, especially the headbands and the armbands and everything else that's coming on. If you're that person on this meeting that says, I don't want to be the uniform police and I'm not going to adjudicate that stuff, you're not doing the rest of us any favors. Please make sure that you're applying the rule. The headbands aren't right, fix it. The armband, you know, the arm sleeves aren't matching, fix it. Don't let them participate if they won't. The only way we clean this up and having this get off of our test so that we can have more goaltending and basket interference questions is by us taking care of that business. So don't be the person that ignores it because it's not doing anybody else any favors.
And the best time to take care of that is right now, early in the season when everybody else still getting used to it. We don't want to have to be doing this game 18, 19, and 20. The coach is like, no one's ever told me that before. Just a couple of real quick housekeeping. I saw a question from Sean. The answer to number 23 was D. I don't know if I had said that out loud. How's attendance recorded for this virtual meeting? Scott, name and reference number, and by you answering that question, know you're here. And again, for those of you who want to stay on. I'll look at the MHSA website with y'all. For the rest of you, whatever you do for the holidays, you know, be with your loved ones, have a good time, and good luck until our next meeting. Thank everyone for everything you do. All right. Good job. Everyone, I'm going to give it just a quick minute, let some people kind of transition off. All right. So what I'm going to do now, for those of us who are still here and would like a quick little tour of how to like enter stuff and get stuff ready for the season, or maybe if you're watching this online, let me share my screen. Okay. Can somebody come off mute and say, Shane, we can see your screen. You should be seeing the website now.
You're good to go.
All right. Thank you very much. All right. So this is the MHSA page. You want to log in. I'm just gonna, you know, do my little login. Now this is, I'm on a desktop. If you're on an iPad or your phone, it might look a little different, but it's the same clicks essentially. All right. You know you're logged in by up here in the upper right-hand corner. It now says My MHSAA. You click this, you want to get to your My MHSAA tools. For what we are going into, you don't go into officials here. You got to go into My MHSAA first. All right. So this is your dashboard. This is nice. This is new this year. It's a quick at a glance. Are you registered? Everyone working the game should be registered. Did you do the rules meetings? Everyone who's working games, God, I hope you've looked at the rules meetings. You should see green check marks. Now we're here, postseason requirements. What we got here is the exam, MIGs, schedule, availability, and crews. are optional. For those of us who don't know this, you can submit a crew with a group of 3 of you who would want to work the districts together. It's no guarantee you'll be put together, but you could. And I know a lot of people who do that. But if you don't stress about it. You know, that's okay. So what you can do here is if you want to look at the exams, the MIGs, the schedule, or the availability, you can actually hover open that checkbox and it'll take you, it's nice. It'll take you right to that page. And so since we're on availability, I just want to make sure everybody kind of knows this. Make sure you have to mark available if your availability for both boys and girls. And by default, you're marked as not available. So if you say, oh yes, I did my exam, I got 100%, I submitted my schedule, everything like that, but you forget to go in and mark things available, or maybe you only mark something available for boys basketball, means you're not going to get any girls basketball. Or if you don't mark anything available for boys, but you mark available for girls, you're only going to get girls. So do both. And here, this is a situation where if there's conflicts, you can type actually in a school that you shouldn't be working. For example, my kids go to Bloomfield Hills High School and they actually are involved in the basketball program. I should not be working Bloomfield Hills High School games. And so that is something can report to the MHSAA. And then you click save and you should get a little thumbs up, availability information updated. All right. Well, how do we get back there? How do we get to more things? If you ever want to go back to my MHSA, it's now up here. You click that and you can select what you want to select. Let's check member in good standing. Mine got updated for a member in good standing for both boys and girls basketball. Again, I got to double check that everybody else's status has been updated, but what you should see is at least a local approved association that you're a member in good standing with. And if it's just boys or just girls, you might want to email your association and say, oh, wait a second, why am I not a member in good standing for both boys and girls? All right, Nick says it says just football for him. So everyone else might not have been updated yet, still might be in progress. So before you start sending me a lot of emails that I'm not up to date on MIGs, hold off until we send out that constant contact email. All right, thanks, Nick. So this you can't do anything about. This is only something for the association to coordinate with the MyMHSAA. All right, so we're moving on to, let's go to schedule. All right, go to schedule. Same thing, same concept. You got to submit your schedule for both boys and for girls basketball. Now, you do not submit sub-varsity contests, no middle schools, no freshmen, no JV. You only submit varsity contests. If you want to be eligible for either girls or boys, you have to work a minimum of 6 contests in a year to be tournament eligible. And you have to have a certain number of ratings from coaches over 3 years. I forget the total, but if you work really any basketball and you're working any kind of a varsity schedule, you're going to very easily be able to hit that for over a couple of years. But if you have a game to add, you go down here. We are all in zone 3. That's Macomb, Oakland, City of Detroit, and out Wayne County. That's all zone 3. And I'm not 100% sure, but I can't remember, but Monroe County might be zone 3 too, but that's going to be not most of us. The vast majority of us are going to be zone 3. So you don't have to click this all the time. You can click that and you can click save zone. And then for zone save, any of these games that you enter in, you're going to have it as zone. So I'm just going to put in a dummy game. You just select the date. That's working. It's nice. A single game. Host, pretty good search function. Let's say they got in a pinch and I had to ref Bloomfield Hills high school. And you can see that the content, the schools come up pretty easily. It's a pretty good search function. You select that, the visitor. If they were playing some travel team out of state, you could just select out of state and it grays it out. But maybe Romeo is coming to visit. And you can see middle school, all that kind of stuff. They don't want you to enter those in, but you enter in. It's not so important in basketball if you're ref ump 1 or ump 2. I know some assigners, they make everybody the ref, and some assigners do say, okay, ref U1, U2. If you know ref U1 or U2, select the correct one. But if the assigner just marked everybody as ref, don't worry about it. Just select ref. And then you submit the contest. And now the contest is saved right here. But what happens if Romeo can't make it? You click that little button there, and you can come down here, and maybe Romeo can't make it, but Bloomfield called somebody, and now Clausen is coming to play. You can change it, resubmit the contest, and now Bloomfield Hills, you're reffing the Bloomfield Hills Clausen game. Well, what if somebody says, I don't think Shane should be reffing because his kids play basketball there. The signer calls me up, say, Shane, what are you trying to do? I'm taking off the game. All right, well, I got to take that game off my schedule. You can just delete it. And every time if the action took, you should get a little notification message right there. Contest deleted, zone saved, game submitted. That's it. And you got to do that for both girls and boys for all your varsity games. And that's it for that. Availability conflicts, crews. Just want to click that real quick. Going to select for basketball here. Crews, don't just submit a crew, without talking to other people first. Don't do that. Talk amongst yourselves, figure it out. Enter in your zone, the official ID. For example, if it's me, I'm 553826, and see, it auto populates. And then everything else is right there. It just kind of fills in. Now, what if you don't know? You know who you're working with, but you don't know their officiating ID, and maybe you don't have time to text them or something like that, or you don't want to bother them. Well, you can actually look up their officiating ID by, again, going to officials directory here. And I'm just going to type me in here, and I'm going to click search. You can get your partner's officiating ID and then go and type that into the crew section here. I mean, that one's pretty simple. That was pretty simple. Going to exams here. This is something that not a lot of people I know. A couple of things I want to point out. One, you get 2 attempts to take the exam. So if you are interested in saying, I just want to kind of take it, without looking at the rules references or looking up the rules or taking my time and seeing how I do, you can. And then if you pass it on your first try, you do not need to do it a second time. You really don't. You could if you wanted to, but you don't have to. But just know that as long as you have at least one status of open and passed, you're good. Now, let's say you take the exam and you get, in my case, maybe a 95%, a 93%, or an 85%. You're like, I know I passed, but I want to know what I got wrong. I want to know what the correct answer is. I want to be better. I want to get myself better. Well, if you passed it, it'll get loaded up here under your exam history. And if you hover right here, this is a little clipboard with like a checkbox looking thing. You can click review exam and it'll pull up, it won't have them numbered, but it'll pull up the question and what the correct answer is and what the correct letter is of the answer. And you can see I got number 3 wrong, at a a quick thing. And so I'm like, wait a second, what? How did I do that? If I didn't do that, I would just been happy with a 95% or something like that. And that play comes up in a game, I'm going to kick it. I'm going to get the call wrong. So this is one that a lot of people don't know about, but it's kind of nice where in your exam history, you can hover over that little clipboard, click it, and it'll pull down the correct answers for you and the questions. I'm just trying to think if there is anything else for submission of postseason requirements. If you ever want to go back to this dashboard page, just click on the My MHSAA here after dragging down the drop-down box. I am going to right now pause. I'm going to stop sharing. And I'll ask one final time, are there any questions, whether it's, this administrative issues, a rules question or something goofy you saw come up? And if not, that's okay too. All right, everybody. I appreciate everybody's help. Again, good luck the rest of the way, the rest of the season. Appreciate you staying on, and we'll talk to you later. Have a good one. Bye.